There was once a baker who had a shop in a small town in America. This baker was not a very kind man. He never gave his customers any more bread than necessary for their money, and he never smiled. But he was a very good baker. His bread was the softest bread that you could imagine. Sometimes, customers paid for their bread and started eating it there in the shop. And his cakes, his cakes were really delicious. People came to his shop from all over town. When they walked down the street, they smelled the baker's wonderful bread and his delicious cakes, and they walked right into his shop. But not everyone came inside. Some people just stood outside the shop smelling and looking in through the windows. The baker didn't like this.
Their stomachs are full of the smell of my bread. I'm giving them a free lunch, and I get nothing for my hard work,
he said to himself.
Perhaps there's some way to put those delicious smells in bottles. Then I can sell them, just like I sell my bread.
One winter morning, very early, the baker was in his shop, making bread. He wasn't singing happily while he worked. He was complaining to himself about getting up early, about the cold weather, and about anything that came into his head. In the middle of all this, he looked up and saw someone looking in through the window. It was a young man wearing an old coat. He was looking at the baker's bread, and he was hungry. He was smelling the fresh bread and smiling. When the baker saw him, he felt very angry.
That thief outside my shop has a stomach full of the smell of my bread. It's a free breakfast. I get nothing for my hard work, while he steals my smells.
The man didn't move. He just stood there, closed his eyes, and smelt the fresh bread happily. The baker was really angry now. He walked across the shop, opened the door, and shouted at the man,
"Pay me!"
Pay you for what?
asked the young man in great surprise.
For the smells that you've stolen,
replied the baker.
But I've stolen nothing. I'm only smelling the air. Air is free,
said the hungry young man.
It's not free when it's full of the smells from my shop,
replied the baker.
Pay me now, or I'll call the police.
When the young man didn't pay, the baker took him by the coat and pulled him through the snow to the judge's house. He knocked on the door. After a long time, the judge opened the door in his nightclothes. He looked at the baker and the hungry young man standing outside in the street. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. What could be so important so early in the day?
This man is a thief. He stole the smells from my shop,
said the baker. The judge was surprised, but all he said was, "Come in and tell me your story. But first, give me time to dress myself." He went back into the house. After a few minutes, he came back and he took them inside. They all sat down together around a large table. "All right. Tell me everything. Baker, you start," said the judge. He listened quietly. First, the baker told him all about the hungry man who stole all his smells. The judge went on listening. Then the young man told him that air was free and that any man could have as much as he wanted. When they finished telling their stories, the judge was silent for a few minutes. The baker started telling him again of how the other man took all his smells without paying. "Stop. Be quiet. I've decided what we'll do," said the judge. "Young man, do you have any money?" The young man put his hand in his pocket and took out a few coins. He showed them to the judge and said,
Sir, this is all the money that I have in the world.
"Give those coins to me," said the judge. The young man put them into the judge's hand. "I've listened carefully to both your stories," began the judge. "It's true that the smells were coming out of the baker's shop, and these smells belonged to the baker. And it's also true that this young man took those smells without paying for them. And so I say that the young man has to pay the baker for the smells that he took." The baker smiled, perhaps for the very first time in his life. He held out his hand at once for the money, but the judge didn't give him the coins. "Baker, listen and listen carefully," he said. He shook the coins in his hands, and they clinked together. "That can pay for the smells," he said to the baker.
Give me my coins, sir,
said the baker, not smiling anymore. "No," said the judge. "I've decided that the sound of money is the best way to pay for the smell of bread." And with that, he gave the coins back to the poor young man and told him to go home.
The Fisherman and the Giant. Once there was a poor fisherman. He never caught many fish, and so he had no money. On some days he did not catch any fish. He couldn't buy food for his wife and 3 children. They only ate fish. Usually he caught very small fish, but one day he caught a dead horse. Today is a bad day, he thought. Angrily, he began to fish again. This time he caught a bag of old cups. Sadly, he threw them back in the water. "What can I do?" he said. "I am a poor man. I want to sell fish. I want to buy food for my children." He tried again. This time he caught an old jar. It looked green, but then he looked again. It was dirty. So he washed it and it was gold. There were some words on the top of the jar, but he couldn't read. The fisherman jumped up happily. "I can sell this now," he said. "Today is a good day." He looked at the jar carefully. Perhaps there is something inside, he thought. "I'll open it." So he opened the jar and looked inside. Suddenly white smoke came out of the jar and a great giant appeared. The fisherman was very afraid. The giant spoke. "Now, fisherman, I am going to kill you." "Why, cried the fisherman. "What did I do?" "You opened the jar. For that I am going to kill you." "How do you want to die?" "I can kill you with my hands, or I can throw you into the sea." "But why do you have to kill me?" "I will tell you," said the giant. "One day, the king of the giants was very angry with me. I took his youngest and loveliest daughter for a walk by the sea, and he didn't like it. So he put me in this jar. I could not get out because he wrote his name on the top of the jar. I could hear him from inside the jar. 'Because you love the sea, you dog,' he cried, 'you can live in it.' And he threw me in the water. I was in the jar for days and weeks. One day somebody will open this bottle, I thought, and I will make them into a great king or queen. But after 100 years, nobody opened the bottle. So I thought, I will make them into a king or queen, but not a great king or queen. After 200 years, I thought, where is this person? Now I will make them rich, but I will not make them a king or queen. After 300 years, I was very angry. When somebody opens the jar, I will kill them, I thought. You are that person, fisherman. How do you want to die? I have one question, said the fisherman. Will you answer it? I will, said the giant, but ask quickly. Were you in that jar? Yes, I was, answered the giant. You saw me. But you are so big. Your hand is as big as the jar. Think before you speak. Is there nothing inside your head? The giant was not very clever. I will show you, he said angrily. Suddenly he disappeared into white smoke again, and the smoke went inside the jar. You see, he called from inside. The fisherman quickly put the top back on the jar. Ha! Now, giant, he said. I will throw the jar back into the sea. Perhaps somebody will find you in another 300 years. Please open the jar, called the giant. I will make you a rich man. No. You will kill me, answered the fisherman. No, I won't, said the giant. I won't. I'll make you very, very rich. The fisherman thought for a minute. All right, then, he said, and opened the jar. White smoke came out of the jar and the giant appeared again. He quickly threw the jar into the sea. Thank you, he said to the fisherman. I will not forget this. Come with me. The fisherman followed the giant round the city walls and over a mountain. There they came to a great blue and gold sea. In the water there were many fish. Now, catch something. I will watch you, said the giant. In no time, the fisherman caught 3 fish, 3 beautiful red, white, and gold fish. Take these fish to your king, said the giant. He will give you a lot of money for them. The giant disappeared, and blue and gold smoke went into the ground. When the king saw the fish, he said to the fisherman, Those are beautiful fish. I will give you gold for them. Then he said to his servant, Take these fish to the cook. We will eat them today. The fisherman took his gold home to his family. They ate a wonderful dinner of bread, meat, fruit, vegetables, and no fish. For the first time in their lives, they were not hungry. The king's cook put the fish over the fire. They started to cook. Suddenly, the smoke from the fire went blue and gold, and a strange woman appeared in the kitchen. She spoke to the fish. Fish, fish. Are you doing your work? The fish did not answer. Then their heads went up, and they said, "We are, and we are happy." The strange woman pushed the fish into the fire. The smoke from the fire went blue and gold, and the woman disappeared into it. The king and his servant came into the kitchen. "I am waiting for the fish." "Where are they?" he said to the cook. He saw that the fish were in the fire, and he could not eat them. The cook told him about the strange woman. The king wanted to see the woman, so he sent for the fisherman. "Bring me 3 more fish," he said. When the fisherman came back with 3 more fish, the king gave him more gold. The cook put the fish over the fire. This time the smoke from the fire went red and gold, and a big man with red hair appeared. "Fish, fish, are you doing your work?" The fish answered, we are. And we are happy." And the same thing happened. The man pushed the fish into the fire and disappeared into the red and gold smoke. The king did not speak for a minute. This was magic. Then he turned to the fisherman. "Where do you get these fish?" he asked. "I get them from a sea of blue and gold water over the mountain." "Do you know this sea?" the king asked his servant. "No. I often go across the mountain, but there is no blue and gold sea." "Will you take us there?" the king asked the fisherman. The king and his men followed the fisherman over the mountain to the sea of blue and gold, and there they saw the wonderful fish. The fish were jewels in the water. "Wait here," said the king. He took 2 men and went round the sea. There they came to a great house of red stone. All round the house were gardens of wonderful flowers. There was no answer at the door. But it was open, so the king went in. He saw many beautiful rooms, but no people. He came into a very large room with high windows. Somebody spoke, "When will I die? I don't want to live." The king saw a young man at the other end of the room. He was on the floor with a coat over his feet. "I know you are a king," said the young man, "but I cannot stand up." The king took away the coat and saw that his feet were fine white stone. "What is this?" cried the king. "Why do you have stone feet? Why do the fish talk? Why does a man with red hair appear from nowhere in my kitchen? What is happening? Tell me." "I will tell you," said the young man. "Please sit down and listen. There was once a great city in this place. My father was king of that city, and I was a prince. Then my father died, and I was the king. I married a beautiful woman. She was my queen, but she did not love me. She loved a servant. When I learnt about him, I wanted to kill that servant. We had a fight. I hurt him, but I didn't kill him. He could not use his legs. My wife was very angry. She can do magic, and she changed my feet to white stone. Then I could not use my legs. That was not the end of it. 3 mountains and a blue and gold sea appeared in place of the city. She changed the men and women of the city into fish. There is a little house of white stone in the garden of this house. The servant lives there. He cannot walk. My wife visits him every day." The king went into the garden and thought for some time. Then he went to the house of white stone. He found the servant inside and killed him. He put the servant under the bed and then climbed onto it. He pulled the servant's jacket over his face. Some time later, the queen came in. "Are you happy, my dearest servant?" she asked. "No," said the king. "I cannot sleep. Somebody is crying. The young king is crying because of his stone feet." The queen went to the young king and threw some magic water over his feet. He stood up and walked. Then she came back to the house of white stone. "And I cannot sleep," the king said, "because the men and women of the city cry at night. They do not want to be fish." So the queen went to the blue and gold sea. She said some magic words. A great city appeared all round her. Men and women ran happily through the streets and in and out of the houses. Then the queen came back to the house of white stone. "Are you happy now, my dear servant?" she asked. "Yes, my love," he said. "Come near me." She came near him. "Come nearer. I want to put my arms round you." She came nearer his bed. He put his arms round her. In one hand he had a knife, and he killed her. He went back to the young king. "Your queen is dead. The city and its people are living." The older king and the young king were friends after that. One city helped the other city. But nobody ate fish again. The fisherman and his family were happy. The two kings sent them gold and beautiful things. They were never hungry again.
Blue Moon Beach. Summer days. I'm sitting and watching birds. I'm at Blue Moon Beach. I think it is the best beach in the world. The water is warm and blue. The sand is very white. Blue Moon Beach is my beach. I've lived here all my life. Other people come here for a week or two. They swim at the beach. They come to see the fish too. There are many fish in the water at Blue Moon Beach. My name is Samuel Martin. At home I am called Sammy at school Sam. I like the name Sam. I think I'm too old to be Sammy now. I am 15. I live with my mother and father in our hotel Blue Moon Hotel. When he was little I loved all the rooms and the stairs. I loved the big kitchen and all the food. I liked the people who came to stay. I played with lots of children who came with their families. What I like now are the animals and birds that live near our hotel. I like sea eagles best. I want to write a book about them one day. They are big, strong birds. Sea eagles are the kings of all the birds. They fly over the water to look for food. When I was little, there were lots of sea eagles at Blue Moon Beach. This year, there are only 2 sea eagles. Why? Because there are not many trees now. Sea eagles need trees. Now there are lots of houses. It makes me angry. I don't want the birds to leave Blue Moon Beach. Today is the first day of summer. No school for 5 weeks. 5 weeks to swim and watch the sea eagles. I'm lying on the sand. I'm watching one sea eagle. It is on the rocks at the end of the beach. I haven't seen the other sea eagle today. 2 men are walking along the beach. I don't think they are here to swim. They are wearing dark clothes. They are wearing shoes and socks. People never wear shoes and socks at Blue Moon Beach. The men stop near me. They look at the rocks. They must be looking at the sea eagle. They talk quietly. Who are they? They see me looking at them and then they walk away. Go for a swim. I love swimming. There are a lot of people in the water today, but not many of them swim out in the deep water. I swim out a long way. There are a lot of fish swimming below me. I lie in the water and look up. I see the sea eagle flying above me. I love being out in the water at Blue Moon Beach. The sun is high in the sky. It's time for lunch and I'm hungry. I swim back to the beach and then I walk back to the hotel. Sammy, Mum calls from her office. It is at the front of the hotel. Yes, Mum, I say. Dad needs your help in the kitchen after lunch, she says. Today? But it's the first day of summer, Mum. I want to go swimming again this afternoon. And the birds. I want to go swimming too, says Mum. But we all have to work. We have a lot of visitors. She looks tired. She works very hard. Okay, Mum. Mum smiles at me. Thank you, Sammy, she says. Sam, Mum, not Sammy. I'm not a little boy now. I'm 15. Okay, Sam, go and eat lunch. Then help your father. I go into the kitchen. Dad is cooking. I think he is the best cook in the world. He uses lots of pots. I'll have to wash them after lunch. Hello, Sammy, says Dad. It's time for lunch. Are you hungry? Yes, and it smells very good. After lunch, I help my father. We clean the kitchen. I wash the pots and Dad washes the floor. I like to work with Dad. Some boys don't see their fathers very often, but Dad and I are good friends. How are your birds today, Sammy? Dad asks. The mother is there. I want to see if there are eggs in the nest. Sea eagles always have 2 eggs. Eggs, Dad says. It's a long time since I've seen a baby sea eagle. Yes, I say. We have nearly finished cleaning the kitchen. Can I go now, Dad? I ask. Okay, Sammy. Dad, my name is Sam. Sammy. I often say this to Mum and Dad. They forget. Okay, Sam. Go on, look at your beautiful birds. Thank you, Dad. I walk through the hotel. I open the front door quietly, but Mum hears me. Sammy, come here please, she calls from the office. Shall I run? It is a beautiful, warm day. I don't want to do any more work today. I run. Mum comes out of the office. Stop, Sammy, she calls. I stop. I walk back to the office. Dad and I have nearly finished cleaning the kitchen, Mum, I say. I need to talk to you now, Mum says. But Mum, I want to see the sea eagles. Sam, says Mum, please. So I sit and listen. Boy is coming here today with his mother. His name is Tim Bailey. I want you to show him the village. Take him to the beach. But Mum, I want to watch the sea eagles. The mother has been in the nest all day. They'll have baby sea eagles in the nest soon. Sam, please listen. Tim's mother, Mary, was my best friend at school. They live in the city now. Tim's father died after being sick for a long time. Mary is very sad. Tim is sad too. I asked them to come here. The sea air will be good for them. Tim needs a friend. I told his mother you will be Tim's friend. Mum looks at me. I look at the floor. I don't want to be friends with Tim. I don't want Mum telling me who to be friends with. I want to swim and watch the sea eagles. Mum, do I have to? Yes, you do. All right, Mum, I say.